Hey guys, welcome back to our Studying the Bible series. Don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to our channel. This helps us to put out more of the content you enjoy and ensure that more people all around the world are able to hear the message of Scripture through our channel. That being said, let's go ahead and dive into the 5 things you need to know before studying the book of Joshua. The first thing you need to know is that Canaan is God's gift to His people. If you've watched our previous videos on the first 5 books in the Bible, you know that while Moses served as a great leader of the Israelite people during their time in the wilderness, he ultimately is unable to enter into the promised land with them because of his sin. God appoints Joshua to be the next leader of the Israelite people and the one who will ultimately lead them into the promised land. The tricky part about this situation is that there are already people living in the promised land, the Canaanites. That means that Joshua and the Israelites are going to have to conquer their land piece by piece. However, the conquest of Canaan has little to do with the Israelites' military savvy. Canaan is God's gift to His people. That is why in Joshua chapter 1 verse 3, God speaks of the Israelites' military conquest in the past tense, stating, "Wherever you set your foot, you will be on land I have already given you." The second thing you need to know is, why does God want Joshua to drive out all the Canaanites? One of the more controversial things about the Old Testament to some people is the fact that God repeatedly commands His people to completely destroy another group of people. Some people have a hard time understanding why a loving God would do something like this. This theme starts during the Israelites' preparation for conquering the Promised Land. God tells Joshua that he should utterly destroy the Canaanites in the process of conquering the land. What we first need to understand is that the Canaanites are not an innocent people. They had heard of the Lord and even had an opportunity to worship Him, but they chose not to. Not only that, but many of them even sacrificed children to false gods. Ultimately, God commands the Israelites to completely destroy these people because He doesn't want the Israelites to be influenced by the evil practices of the Canaanites. I mean, think about it. He just spent 40 years in the wilderness teaching them how to be His people again. Why would He want to bring them into a new land only for them to be influenced by the pagan rituals all around them yet again? Unfortunately, Joshua does not completely destroy the nations of Canaan. Because of this, the surviving Canaanites become a stumbling block for the Israelites for generations to come. The third thing you need to know in studying this book is the ancestry of Rahab. One of the most infamous accounts of the Israelites' conquest of Canaan is the fall of Jericho. You probably know the story. God commands Joshua to have the people march around Jericho for 7 days. On the 7th day, they are to march around 7 times, and on the 7th time, they shout and the walls of Jericho come tumbling down. That being said, one part of the story that is often overlooked is the role of the prostitute Rahab. Rahab is a prostitute living on top of Jericho's infamous walls. When Joshua sends spies to scout out the city, they make their way to her house. Word gets back to the king that Israel is scouting out Jericho for an attack, and he sends out a search party. When the officers arrive to Rahab's house, she hides the 2 Israelite spies, but asks for a favor in return: that when they attack Jericho, they would show mercy to her family. The Israelites agree to do so, and when it's time for the attack, they keep their word. We now know, according to the Gospel of Matthew's account of the genealogy of Jesus, that Rahab is listed as an ancestor of the Messiah. That's right, Jesus, the Messiah of Israel, is a descendant of Rahab the prostitute. The next thing you need to understand is the consequences of Achan's sin. In the midst of their conquest of Canaan, Joshua and the Israelites find themselves on quite the winning streak. In fact, so far they have yet to lose a battle. But that changes when they get to Ai. Somehow, the seemingly unstoppable Israelites' army of 3,000 people was defeated by a small militia of approximately 300. Shocked by the defeat, Joshua asks God for an explanation. God reveals to Joshua that this embarrassing defeat was the result of the sin of one man, Achan. Achan had gone directly against God's order and taken some of the plunder of Jericho for himself. As a result, Joshua found Achan and executed him, along with his entire family. This story demonstrates that not only is God wanting to drive out the evil of the Canaanites, but also the evil amongst his own people. And last but certainly not least, what you need to understand before reading the book of Joshua is what it means to possess the land. One of the central themes of the book of Joshua is the idea of possessing the land. We know from our first point today that Canaan is God's gift to his people, but it is now up to them to possess it. Some of you might be thinking, what does it mean to possess something? Well, in this context, all it really means is to own or to hold on to something. For the Israelites, the key to possessing the land is the same as what it took to conquer it: obedience. The Israelites did not come into the promised land by their own military strength, but by the favor the Lord had given them. In order to stay in the land, they need to remain obedient to the God who brought them there. Joshua reminds the people of this in his final address to them in Joshua chapter 24. Unfortunately, as you will see in the book of Judges, the Israelites' disobedience gets in the way of them thriving in the land God has given them. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave us any questions you might have in the comment section below. Thanks for tuning in as we walk through the Bible together.